शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजाननपद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्वजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. लोकवीर्यं महापूज्यं सर्वरक्षाकरं विभुं पार्वती हृदयानन्दं शास्तारं प्रणमाम्यहं। स्वामिये शरणमय्यप्पा। वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृते कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन्। हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ട തോറും രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. All right. So we'll do the review of 14 and then the half of 15. So Priyam, can you do 14 and then Vidya, you can do 15 first half. Vidya Raman.
Yeah. So I'm gonna...
Oh, sorry, Priyam, we lost you.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me? I think I lost my connection briefly.
Yeah, I think we lost you
now
for
we
a
can hear
second.
you.
Yeah, okay. It's back now. Sorry, go ahead, Priya. Yeah.
Okay. Samanusmृततावकाङ्घ्रियुग्मः समानुः पङ्कज सम्भवाङ्गजन्मा निजमन्तरमन्दराय हीनं चरितं ते कथयन् सुखं निनाय समये खलु तत्र कर्दमाख्यो दृहीनच्चाय भवस्दिया वाचा धृतसर्गर सो निसर्गरम्यं भगवत्सव मायुतं समास शेवे
The last line,
शेवे
last line, Bhagavams Twamayutam Samasisheme.
भगवस्त्वं स्तं
Twa,
भगवस्त्वाम् okay स्वामयुतं समासि शेवे okay गरुडोपरि कर्दमं विलसत्केलि सरोजपाणि पद्मं हसितो लसिताननं विभो त्वं वपुरा विष्णु कुरुषे स्म कर्दमाय.
the first line, but the last word, Mega Kamram.
Mega
Kamram.
Kamram. Okay. स्तुवते पुलकावृताय तस्मै मनुपुत्रीं दयितां नवादिपुत्रीः कपिलं च सुतं समेव पश्चात् स्वगतिं चाप्य निगृह निर्गतो भूः मनुष्य रूपय महिष्या गुणवत्या सुतया च देवहूत्या भवदीरित नारदोपतिष्ठः समगात् कर्दमागति प्रतीक्षाम् मनुनोपहात्रां च देवहूतिं तरुणीरत्नमवाप्य कर्दमोऽसौ भवदर्चन निर्वतोऽपि तस्यां दृढशुश्रूषणय ददौ प्रसादं स पुनस्तव पासनप्रभावात् दयिता कृते विमाने वनिता कुलसङ्कुलो नवात्मा व्यवहार देवपतेप्षु देवहूत्या.
Fourth line, first word, Vyaharad Deva.
Sorry, which one?
Fourth line, first word,
Okay.
Vyaharad Deva.
Okay, Vyavahar Deva.
Vyaharad, yeah, Vyaharad Deva.
शान्तवर्षमाथ व्यतीय सोऽयं नवकन्.
Sorry, first word you got that. Shatavarshamata.
शतवर्षमथ समथ शतवर्षमथ व्यातीय सोऽयं नवकन्यासमावाप्य धन्यरूपाः वनयास न समौ ततोऽपि कान्ता हितकृत त्वज्जन सोको sorry
Tvajjana Notsuko.
त्वज्जन नोत्सुको न वात्सीत् निज गिरा भवद्दिशेव निरताय मदत् देवहूत्यां कपिलस्वत वं जयात् जननां ईशयन् परमात्मत्व विद्याम्.
Third line mattum Kapilas Tvam Ajayata Jananam.
Okay.
Kapilas Tvam Ajayata Jananam.
Okay. वन में युषिकर्द में प्रसन्ने मत सर्वस्वमुपादिशान् जनन्यै कपिलात्मव वायुमन्दिरेश त्वत्तीरं त्वं परिपाहि मां गदोगात्.
Fourth line, first word Tvaritam. The word
त्वरितम्. Okay.
Rajesh,
Yeah.
and the 8th stanza last கொஞ்சம் repeat பண்ண சொல்லுங்க.
Hita Krit Twaj. It's a twat, but that it becomes a ij because the ja is coming later. So Hita Krit Twaj Jananotsuko Nyavatsit.
Jananotsuko Nyavatsit. Okay.
Matiriha Gunashakta Bandhakruteshvasakta. I'm sorry.
And the tune Matiriha Gun 4-liner Mari. Matiriha Gunasakta Bandhakruteshvasakta tu.
I think I lost it. Matiriha Gunashakta Bandhakruteshvasakta Tvamritrudu Brindhe Bhakti Yogastu Shaktim. Rajesh, ஒரே ஒரு தடவை அந்த இன்னொரு தடவை சொல்லுங்களேன்.
மதிரிஹ குணசக்தா பந்தகிருத்தேஷ்வசக்தா து அமிர்த கிருது பருந்தே பக்தி யோகஸ்து சக்திம் மகதனுகமலக்வ்யா பக்திரேவாத்ர சாத்யா கபிலதனுரிதே த்வம் தேவஹூத்யை ஞகாதீஹி.
மதிரிஹ குணசக்தா பந்தகிருத்தேஷ்வசக்தா अमृत कृतु बृथे भक्तियो कस्तु शक्तिं मदहनु कमलाभ्या भक्तिरेवात्र साध्या कपिलतनुरितित्वं देवहूत्यै न्यकादि प्रकृति महत Kyankarasya matrasya bhutati api kritapi tasakshi purusha panjavimshah iti vidata vibhakho muchyate sau prakritya kapiladanuritittvam devahutyai Nyagadihi.
The last
Nyagadihi. Prakriti kata gunau karnaja
gunau gaihi visargan
gunau gaihi najyate purushoyam yadit tu sajati tasyam tat gunastam pajeran mathanu bhajan natadva lochanai sabya beyan kapiladanurtitvam devahudyai nikadihi Vimalamatirupadyai Rasanadyair Matangam.
Vidyanka, sorry, and the ra goes away, the visarga comes. Vimalamatirupattaihi asanadhyair madangam.
Vimalamatirupadyaihi asanadhyair matangam. Garuda Samadhirudam Divya Bhusha Yudangam रुसितुलिततमालं शीलयेधा नुले वेलं कपिलदनुरुतत्वं देवहुद्यै नगादी मम निकादिः मम गुणगणलीला कर्णनैः कीर्तनाद्यैः मयि सुरसरितोकप्रज्ञ चित्तानुवृत्तिः भवति परमभक्तिः सा हि मृत्यो विजेत्री कपिलतनुरुतित्वं देवहुत्यै न्यगादिः.
Yeah, I think that's where we start. We'll start, continue from 6. Mrinalini, you can be student, and Divya, you can be student. Answer 6. Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitartaihi kutumbam pratidinamanupushnan strijito balalali vishatihi grihasakto yatanam maya bhaktah kapilatanurtetvam devahutyenyagadihi. So we saw last class 14th Dasakam 14 around the incarnation of Bhagavan as Kapila Muni, right, who was born to Kardama and then Devahuti. And then in 15th Dashakam, he started teaching the path of self-realization, right? Like I said, the Sankhya Yoga philosophy, but then not the Sankhya Yoga. Today, when it's Sankhya Yoga, it is devoid of devotion. But the original Sankhya Yoga, which Kapila Muni taught, is Sankhya Yoga surrounded, embedded with devotion. Nothing can be independent of devotion. And even the path to self-realization through the Jnana Marga also, Kapila says, has to have devotion in it. You cannot have Jnana Marga without any devotion buried into it, right? So anyway, so he talked about some of those things. And then in the previous stanza, the 5th stanza, he said the only way to get rid of the entire cycle of birth and death and all of that, to come to the realization, is to always be talking about the nama japam, or talking about the leela, or all the related things, and by constantly doing it, you can get through the cycle of birth and death. So here he says, now of course all of us cannot be doing it 24/7, right? Because we all, lot of grahasthas, so we all have our karma, which is totally fine. Because Swayambhu Manu, who's the Manu, and here this Kapila's father, Kardama, they also had responsibilities. We saw in Dashakam 14 about Kardama. He still had to have 9 daughters. He had to, give birth to them. Then he had to have Kapila. So he had to do his duties. But it's how you do your duties, which is extremely important. So here Kapila says that anybody who has, number one, no devotion to me. So yatana mai abhaktaha, the one who has absolutely no devotion to me, or the one who is making money, generating wealth to support his family and everybody by unfair means. It's absolutely fine to make money to support your family. That is your karma. You have taken birth, you're married, you have to support your family. But it is how you generate that money, right? So by anyone who does it through unfair means, and the one who is strijito balalali, it means that the one who is and this applies to everybody, one who falls very easily for the opposite sex, right? Which means not able to control your senses, and then which gets you into the wrong ways. And then the one who's very attached to your possessions. Again, like I said, it's absolutely fine to have whatever. Like we saw, Kardama created an aerial vehicle, right? Which then he took Devahuti all over. It's absolutely fine to have all of those. You should not get too attached to it, right? So he says anybody who has all of these characteristics of not being devoted, falling very easily, getting prey to all the opposite gender, and then who's getting too attached to the possessions, raising money through unfair means, there is absolutely no hope. He says you will go through, the path of, where you have to, just building more negative karma, right? So by doing this, there's no way you will continue to have the cycle of life and death that you're going to have, and you're going to get stuck in that karma because you have to get out of that. Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitartaihi, comma there, kutumbam, then put a plus, kutumbam pratidinam anupushnan. So that kind of comes together. Kutumbam is family, Pratidinam is every day, Anupushnan is feeding or taking care. So we kind of say that together. Kutumbam pratidinamanu pushnan, comma, Strijito balalali, longi, Bishati hi grihasakto, Yatanam maya bhaktaha, comma, Kapilatanuruditvam devahutin yagadihi. Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitartaihi kutumbham pratidinamanu pushnan Strijito balalali Bishatihi grihasakto yatanam maya bhaktaha Kapilatanurite devahutyainyagadihi.
Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitartaihi kutumbam pratidinamanu pushnan strijito balalali vishatihi grihasakto yatanam maya bhaktaha kapilatanuritatvam devahutyainyagadihi.
Ahaha bahuli.
Sorry, 2 times.
Sorry. Aha bahula himsa sanchitardaihi kutumbam pratidinamanu pushnan strijito balalali vishatihi gruhasakto yatanam maya bhaktaha kapilatanuriti devahutyainyagadihi.
Second line, the pushnan I'm getting, just pushnan.
Pushnan, okay.
Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitaraihi kutumbam pratidinamanu pushnan Srijito balalali Vishatihi grihasakto yatanam maya bhaktaha kapila tanuriti tvam devahutyainyagadihi. Ahaha bahula himsa sanchitaraihi kutumbam pratidinamanu pushnan Srijito balalali Vishatihi grihasakto yatana maya bhaktaha kapila tanuriti tvam devahutyainyagadihi.
The first line, sanchitartaihi.
Sanchita
Taihi. You're missing the ta. Yeah. Sancha 7. Yuvati jhatarakinno jata bodhopyakande prasava galita bodha pidayo langya bhalyam punarapibata muhyatyeva tarunya kale kapilatanurite devahutyainyagadihi. So in this Kapila Avataram, in this the discourse that Kapila gives to Devahuti, there are about like 50 to 60 stanzas devoted to what happens in the womb of a mother when a baby is born or a baby is conceived, right? And it goes through extreme details, and some of it, if you hear it, it's like so upsetting. So it says when the baby is in the womb, right? It says it's a struggle. It's not an easy. I don't know. Some of you have there's a on the side there's a Tamil movie where there's a comedy scene which comes where Vadivel, one of the comedian, talks about how hard it was for me to sit crunched in my mother's abdomen, right? So that's what he talks about. He says that it is not an easy thing. He says that the soul is stuck, the small in the womb of the mother, the baby is like completely curved and bent and suffering through all of that stuff. And it says it is living in its own stool, living in its own urine. Everything that the baby is discarding out of it, it's living in that same thing, right? And it says it's a pain, and it says all the small worms which are there in the womb of the mother, everything bites the tender body of the baby, and the baby undergoes severe pain, right? And in that severe pain, the baby, some of them, right, some of them who have realized it, they come to a realization that I have taken hundreds of births, right? And it comes to realization that soul, when the soul enters into the baby, then the soul realizes, saying that I've gone through hundreds of births and I'm still stuck. And at that point, the soul has a realization. So some of the souls do a stuti to Bhagavan, saying, don't get me out of this, right? I don't want to go out, because the moment I go out, I forget the truth of who I am. And then I'm going to get stuck in that whole cycle of birth and death. It says, I don't want to come out of the mother's womb. And then it does a stuti saying, at least this time when I take a birth, give me the knowledge of not to waste my birth by doing all useless things. Right? And it does a stuti because it knows what is due when it actually comes out, and the baby doesn't want to come out, and it does a beautiful stuti there saying, I've taken, there are a lot of animals, when you're born as an animal, like you're born as a deer, you survive by instinct, right? The moment a lion or a tiger comes, all you have to do is survive and protect yourself. You don't have anything else to do in life. You have to eat, you have to protect from your death, from your person who's coming to kill you, and you have to sleep. That's all you have to do. But a human birth is so much more complicated. We have so many different senses. We have an opportunity to control our senses. We can control our mind. And the soul prays, saying that at least this birth of mine, when I take birth, give me the knowledge to retain the knowledge that I am able to control my sense and put my senses and mind to good use, right? But the moment it comes out and the outside air hits the top of the baby's head, all that knowledge goes away and it is again stuck. But we still get that knowledge later on through our life. And it says how when you're young, of course, you are not worried about anything. You're careless. You just run around, all that stuff. And then as you keep growing, it very similar to what Bhaja Govindam, what Shankaracharya said. It says later on, in your Tarunya Kale, in your youth, you are so impacted by so many things going on around you. You're so distracted. So the soul completely forgets the primary purpose of this birth. And then it gets stuck into this web again and again and again until it comes to a realization. It keeps taking this birth and it keeps taking the birth till it realizes its main purpose, right? So anyway, he says, Kapila is telling to Devahuti that is unfortunately the cycle. So whenever you get a small glimpse of saying what my true purpose is, you have to then double down on it. So you don't lose it and then you don't get into the cycle again. So Yuvati Jatara Kinno Jata Bodopya Kande, Prasava Galita Bodaha, put a F, Bodaf, Pidayol Langya Balyam, Punarapi Bata, Muhyatyeva, it's a half ha there, Muhyatyeva Tarunya Kale, Kapila Tanurititvam Devahuti Nyagadihi. युवति झठरखिन्नो जातबोधोऽप्यकाण्ठे प्रसवगलितबोधः पीडयोल्लङ्घ्य बाल्यम् पुनरपि बत मुह्यत्येव तारुण्यकाले कपिलतनुरिते त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादीः.
युवति जठरखिन्नो जातबोधोऽप्यकाण्डे प्रसवगलितबोधः पीडयोल्लङ्घ्य बाल्यम् पुनरपि बत मुह्यत्येव तारुण्यकाले कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादीः. युवति जठरखिन्नो जातबोधोऽप्यकाण्डे प्रसवगलितबोधः पीडयोल्लङ्घ्य बाल्यम् पुनरपि बत मुह्यत्येव तारुण्यकाले कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादीः.
युवति जठरखिन्नो जातबोधोऽप्यकाण्डे प्रसवगलितबोधः पीडयोल्लङ्घ्य बाल्यम् पुनरपि बत मुह्यत्येव तारुण्यकाले कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादीः. युवति जठरखिन्नो जातबोधोऽप्यकाण्डे प्रसवगलितबोधः पीडयोल्लङ्घ्य बाल्यम् पुनरपि बत मुह्यत्येव तारुण्यकाले कपिलतनुरिति त्वं देवहूत्यै न्यगादीः.
The first line, Jathara, second tha in Sanskrit. Yuvati Jatharakinno. First line.
युवति जठरखिन्नो
I think you're saying tha. You're saying Jathara. You're saying tha. You're saying is tha. Jatharakinno.
जठरखिन्नो.
That's it. पितृसुरगणयाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणात्वोपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्म तूदक्पथार्थं Kapilatanurete tvam devahutinyagatihi. It's kind of opposite of 6, where you say you are raising money by unfair means, you're following all that. It says somebody who's doing all the right things, let's say, a grahastha who's doing all the right stuff, which is they are performing whatever appropriate rites need to be done to the Pitras, right? So Amavasya, Tarpanam, everything, praying to the Pitras, Sura to all the gods, so doing appropriate oblations to the god, and Ganayaji and to people. So they're being very nice to everybody. They're doing all the right things and everything, as per what is actually recommended. Even that person, when the time comes, it says they're going to go through the southern Dhumra Margam, which is the path of darkness. The reason is a majority of this, if you're doing it with the intention of saying, if I do this, I get this benefit. So you're expecting some result to happen. So you're going and giving charity. You're saying, okay, I see a poor person there. I'm going to give some charity, because by giving charity, I'm going to get some punyam. I'm doing a good deed, right? So the moment you have an outcome or a desire in mind when you're doing any of these things, it says you're building positive karma, which is, you can say, oh, good, I'm building positive karma. But the problem of building positive karma is you have to take birth again to burn over that positive karma. And what happens when you take birth is you are going to create more negative karma. So the cycle becomes endless, right? So here, and very similar to what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, it says the only way out is to do the right things, but not expect anything in return, and surrender all the actions. Mai nihitam akamam. So do not expect any result or any outcome of all of this, and surrender all of it to me. That's what Kapila is saying. By completely surrendering it to the Bhagavan, all the actions you're doing, and saying, I don't want any benefits of this, which is extremely hard. We celebrate Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving Day, just to thank people, and we expect the thanks when we do something, right? So it's very difficult to get over that mindset. So, but it says you do your duty and do not expect anything in return, including no thanks in return. It doesn't matter if somebody doesn't thank you, you still have to do your duty, right? And by completely surrendering, the only way by doing it, you eradicate all your karma, and then you're going to get out of the cycle. Pitr Sura Gana Yaji Dharmiko Yo Grihastha, Sacha Nipatati Kale Dakshinadvopagami Mai Nihitam Akamam, if you want to break it, Nihitam Akamam Karma Tudak Pathartam, Kapilatanurititvam Devahute Nyagadihi. Pitrusuraghanayaji dharmiko yo grihastha sacha nipatati kale dakshinadvopagami mai nihitamakamam karma tudak pathartam kapilatanuritetvam devahutyenyagadihi.
पितृसुरगणयाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणाद्वोपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्मदुक् पदार्थं कपिलतनुरितित्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादीः. पितृसुरगणयाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणाद्वोपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्मदुक् पदार्थं कपिलतनुरितित्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादीः.
पितृसुरगणयाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणाद्वोपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्म तूदक् पदार्थं कपिलतनुरितित्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादीः. पितृसुरगणायाजी धार्मिको यो गृहस्थः स च निपतति काले दक्षिणाद्वोपगामी मयि निहितमकामं कर्म तूदक् पदार्थं कपिलतनुरितित्वं देवहूत्यैन्यगादीः.
That's right. Iti subhidita vidyam devahe devahutim कृतनुतिमनुगृह्य त्वं गतो योगी संघैः विमलमतिरतासौ भक्तियोगेन मुक्ता त्वमपि जनहितार्थं वर्तसे प्रागुदीच्याम्. He said there's a lot more in this Kapilopakhyanam, but Narayanam has the condensed version of it. So anyway, once Kapila has conveyed everything that Devahuti needed to know, right? So she gets all the knowledge that is required, the knowledge of self-realization of knowing what the Atman is, what the soul and the spirit and everything is. Then she also gets the knowledge of the Sankhya philosophy in terms of Prakriti and Purusha and all of that. And she also gets all the knowledge of the Bhakti Margam. So very similar to Bhagavad Gita. Everything is mixed together, right? So once she gets all the knowledge, then Kapila then decides it's time for me to leave. So Kapila then leaves, and then it says Tomapi Pragudichyam. She says, but says you are still there in the northeast. It doesn't say where. So even in Ramayana, a reference to Kapila comes, where the king called Sagara performs an Ashwamedha Yajna, where all the horses goes. It enters a Kapila ashramam in, I think, in somewhere in Badrinath area, in that area. Anyway, so he says you are still there. But anyway, here Devahuti, eventually she then follows a path of renouncing everything, controlling her senses, and through Bhakti Yogena, and through the path of Bhakti Margam, Devahuti then gets liberated as well. Iti subidita vedyam deva he devahutim, kritanutim anugrihya. I'm just breaking at that ma. Kritanutim anugrihya tvam gato yogi sangaihi vimala matirathasau bhakti yogena mukta, twamapi jana hitartam vartase pragudichyam. Iti suvidita vedhyam devahe devahutim kritanutim anugrihya tvam gato yogi sanghaihi vimala matirathasau bhakti yogena mukta twamapi janahitartam vartase pragudichyam.
Raj,
It is
No.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the second line, do we really have to break it, or can we just read it like that
So you
without?
can read it like that, but I don't want you to say kritanuti manugrihya. So you have to make sure you're not breaking it in the wrong place.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
iti subidita vedyam deva he devahutim krutanutim tvam gato yogi sangaihi vimalamatiratha bhakti yogena mukta tvamapi janahitartham vartase pragudichyam. Iti suvidita vedyam devahe devahutim krutanumanugrhyatvam gato yogi sanghaihi vimalamatirathasav bhakti yogena mukta tvamapi janahitartham vartase pragudichyam.
The second line, first word, kritanutim.
Krutanutimangruhyatvam.
Iti suviditadvedyam, sorry. Iti suviditavedyam devahe devahutim kritanutim anugrhyatvam gato yogi sangaihi vimala matiratasau bhakti yogena mukta tvamapi janahitartam vartase pragudichyam. Iti suviditadvedyam devahe devahutim kritanutim anugrhyatvam gato yogi sangaihi vimalamatirratasau bhakti yogena mukta tvamapi janahitartam vartase pragudichyam.
That's it. Paramakimubahuktya Twatpadam bhoja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarvakamopanetrim badasi khalu dridham tvam tadvidhuya mayan me guru pavana puresha tvayupadat swabhaktim. But wraps it up saying, what more? There's nothing more left to say. He says this, there should be no doubt that complete devotion to your feet. Tvat padam bhoja bhaktim. Complete devotion to your feet is the one which is going to sakala bhaya vinetrim. Is going to remove all the fears and everything here, because we are always fearful of something that is yet to happen. Right? We are worried about something that is going to happen. It is not yet happened, so we're worried about it. Or the uncertainty is just don't be worried about it. You have to completely surrender and not worry about it. So by doing that, sakala bhaya vinetrim, all your fears will go away and sarva kam, and you'll be put in the right path. Right? So that is the only option. There's no other choice. So the prayer also here is, please give me that very firm dhrida bhakti, give me that very firm devotion towards you and eradicate all the ailments and the other diseases I have. Parama kimu bahuktya, tvat padambhoja bhaktim, sakala bhaya vinetrim, sarva kamopanetrim, badasi khalu dridham tvam, tad vidhuyamayame, guru pavana puresha tvayupadat bhaktim. Parama kimu bahuktya tvatpadam bhoja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarva kamopanetrim vadasi khalu dridham tvam tadvidhuya me guru pavana puresha tvayupadat bhaktim.
Parama kimu bahuktya Parama kimu bahuktya tvat padam bhoja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarva kamopanetrim vadasi khalu dhrudam tvam tadvidhuyamayaan me guru pavana puresha tvayupadhat swabhaktim. Parama kimu bahuktya tvat padam bhoja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarva kamopanetrim vadasi khalu dhrudam tvam tadvidhuyamayaan me guru pavana puresha tvayupadhat swabhaktim.
A third line after the comma, tad vidhuyamayaan me, tadvidhuyamayaan me.
Tadvidhuyamayaan me.
Yeah.
Tadvidhuyamayaan me. Okay.
Parama kimu bahuktya tvatpadamboja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarva kamopanitrim vadasi kalu dridham tvam twadviduyamayaan me guru pavana puresha tvayu padatsva bhaktim.
Again, third line, same thing. Tad vidhuyamayaan me.
Twadviduyamayaan me.
Yeah.
Parama kimu bahuktya tvatpadam bhoja bhaktim sakala bhaya vinetrim sarva kamopanetrim vadasi kalu dridham tvam twadviduyamayaan me guru pavana puresha tvayupadat swabhaktim.
And again, third line, tad viduya. You said twa again. Tad viduya.
Tadviduyamayaan me.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, Dasakam 16. Narayana Avatara Varnanam and Daksha Yaga Varnanam. So another avataram, Nara and Narayana. Stanza 1. Daksho virinchatanayota manostanujam labdva prasutimiha shodashachapa kanyaha dharme trayodasha dadau pitrushu swadham cha swaham havir bhujisatim girishe twadhamshe. So in the chapter Dasakam 10, when we saw all the Manasa Putras of Brahma coming, Tasyata Sargarasikasya Marichir Atrihi Angira, Kratumuni, Pulaha, Pulasya, we saw all of that. So one of that, in that category, right? Also, what we saw was he created Daksha. After that, Daksha came about. Then Kamadeva came about. So all of these beings all come from Brahma. We saw all that in the Dashakam 10. So that Daksha Prajapati, he then marries one of the daughters of Swayambhu Manu. We saw one of the daughters of Swayambhu Manu. We saw in the previous one, Devahuti. Devahuti married Kardama Prajapati. The other daughter of Swayambhu Manu called Prasuti, she marries Daksha Prajapati. All of them are Prajapatis. They're supposed to grow the population. So to Daksha Prajapati and Prasuti are born 16 daughters. 13 of the daughters. So Dharme Trayodasha, 13 of those daughters, he marries to Dharmadeva. One of them called Swada, he marries to the head of the Pitruloka. So Pitruloka, we say Pitrus are ancestors, forefathers, where our soul is in transition, it rests there. So the Pitruloka, the one who governs, that to that person, Swadha is getting married to. Swaha is getting married to Havir Bhuji. Havihi. Havis is what we put into the fire. The one who consumes it, Havir Bhuji, is Agni. Agni is the one who consumes it. So to Agni, Swaha is getting married. So that's why when you do a homam, we say Swaha, because you're saying I'm giving it to Agni and I'm also giving it to Swaha, who is Agni's companion, right? So that Swaha is getting married to Agni and Sati is getting married to Girisha. Sati is getting married to Shiva. So those are the 16 daughters of Daksha who are getting married to all of these Prajapatis, all great beings who they all get married to. Daksho Virincha Thanayota Manos Tanujam, Labdhva Prasuti Miha Shodasha Chapa Kanyaha Dharme Trayodasha Dadau, Pitrishu Swadhamcha Swaham Havirbuji Satim Girishe Twadamshe.
Rajesh,
Yeah.
after the third line, there is a comma. Swadhamcha.
Yes, after the end of the lines, end of each of the lines, there is a comma. Yes. Daksho Virinchatanayota Manostanujam Labdwa Prasuti Miha Shodasha Chapa Kanyaha Dharme Trayodasha Dadau Pitrushu Swadham Cha Swaham Havir Bhuji Satim Girishe Twadamshe.
Daksho virincha tanayodha manostanujam labdhva prasutimiha shodasha chapa kanyaha dharme trayodasha dadhau pitrishu swadham cha swaham havir bhuji satim girishe twadamshe. Daksho virincha tanayodha manostanujam labdhva prasutimiha shodasha chapa kanyaha dharme trayodasha dadhau pitrishu swadham cha swaham havir bhuji satim girishe twadamshe.
Daksho virinchatanayot manojastanu labdva prasutimiha shadosha chapakanyaha dharme trayodasha dadau pitrushu swadam cha swaham havirbuji satim girishe twadamshe.
Second line, Shodasha
chapakanyaha. Daksho virinchatanayota manojastanujam labdva prasutimiha shodasha chapakanyaha dharme trayodasha dadau pitrushu swadam cha swaham havirbuji satim girishe twadamshe.
The first word, first line, last word, Manos Tanujam.
Manostanujam.
Yeah. And third line after Dadau, there is a comma. Okay. The third line.
Dadau. Okay.
After this, a comma there. मूर्तिर्हि धर्मगृहिणी सुषुवे भवन्तं नारायणं नरसकं महितानुभावं यज्जन्मनिः प्रमुदिताः कृततूर्यघोषाः पुष्पोत्करान् प्रववृषुर्नुनुवुः सुरौघाः. So this is the 13 of Daksha's daughters were married to Dharmadeva. One of the daughters' name is Murti. To that Murti and to Dharmadeva are born twins, so-called Nara and Narayana. So we said there are so many avatars. We only keep telling top 10 and 10 avatars. There's so many big avatars. Narayana is a huge avatar, right? So here to them are born two beings. One is Nara, one is Narayana. So both of them are like born like twins. They're born at the same time together, and we'll see kind of what is the difference between Nara and Narayana in this case. So and then when that happens, it's an incarnation. So or naturally, when that happens, everybody realizes that the birth as the incarnation has happened for a specific purpose. We'll see what the purpose is, and all the gods come and pray to you, worship you there. Murtirhi dharma grihini sushuve bhavantam, comma Narayanam Narasakam Mahitanubhavam Yaj Janmani Pramuditaha put ih Pramuditah Krita Turya Ghoshaha, comma Pushpotkaran Pravabrushur Nunuvuhu is there, put is Nunuvus Suraughaha. मूर्तिर्हि धर्मगृहिणी सुषुवे भवन्तं नारायणं नरसखं महितानुभावं यज्जन्मनिः प्रमुदिताः कृततूर्यघोषाः पुष्पोत्करान् प्रववृषुर्नुनुवुः सुरौघाः.
मूर्तिर्हि धर्मगृहिणी सुषुवे भवन्तं नारायणं नरसखं महितानुभावं यज्जन्मनि प्रमुदिताः कृततूर्यघोषाः पुष्पोत्करान् प्रववृषुर्नुनु can you
Pravabrushur Nunuvus
सुरौघाः. मूर्तिर्हि धर्मगृहिणी सुषुवे भवन्तं नारायणं नरसखं महितानुभावं यज्जन्मनि प्रमुदिताः कृततूर्यघोषाः पुष्पोत्करान् प्रववृषुर्नुनुवुः सुरौघाः. I'll practice of
yeah, that's what you got it. Yeah, Pravabrushur is one word. Nunuvus Suraughaha.
मूर्तिः धर्मगृहिणी सुषुवे भवन्तं नारायणं नरसकं महितानुभावं यज्जन्मनि प्रमुदितः कृततूर्यघोषाः पुष्पोत्करान् प्रववृषुर्नुनुवुः सुरौघाः.
First word, first line. Murtirhi, double ir.
मूर्तिर्हि धर्मगृहिणी सुषुवे भवन्तं नारायणं नरसकं महितानुभावं यज्जन्मनि प्रमुदितः कृतारूयघोषाः कृततूर्यघोषाः पुष्पोत्करान् प्रववृषुर्नुनुवुः सुरौघाः.
We'll just switch halfway. Anu, you can be a student, and Pramila, you can be a student. Stanza 3. Daityam sahasrakavacham kavachaih paneetam sahasravatsara tapas samarabhilavyaihi पर्याय निर्मित तपस्समरौ भवन्तौ शिष्टैककङ्कटममुं न्यहतां सलीलम्. So there was this asura. His name is Sahasra Kavacha. So all of them want immortality, right? And they all worship Brahma, like Hiranyaksha did, Hiranyakashipu is going to do later. They all want immortality. And Brahma says, so I cannot give you immortality, but you can define the conditions of your death. So here this Sahasra Kavacha says, the person who can kill me, he has 1,000 kavachams. He says, the person should have done enough yogic penance and meditation for 1,000 years to get the strength, and then he has to battle him for 1,000 years, then one kavacham will go away. Then again he has to go and do meditation or do tapas for 1,000 years, get enough yogic strength, then again battle him for 1,000 years, then the second kavacham will go away. That way he's going to have 1,000 kavachams. So now how do you get rid of him? So that's why this Nara Narayana are born together right now. So because Narayana is a direct extension or a partial incarnation of that main Bhagavan Narayana, right? So he's already born with the necessary yogic strength. So the first 1,000 years, this Narayana is battling the Sahasra Kavacha. And at that time, Nara is going and doing tapas for 1,000 years. So this 1,000 years, first 1,000 years goes away, Narayana gets rid of Sahasra Kavachas, one Kavacham. Then the next 1,000 years, this Nara, who has already been doing tapas for 1,000 years, goes and does the second battle and removes the second Kavacham. So with this, they go and eventually get rid of the Sahasra Kavacha. There's not too much detail, but that's all there is. They go and battle him eventually. They all have the necessary strength. They get the strength and eventually they get. Question to you, who removes the 1,000th Kavacha of Sahasra Kavacha? So the first one was removed by Narayana, second one is removed by Nara. They keep alternating. All odd numbers are removed by Narayana. All even numbers are removed by Nara. So who removes the 1,000th Kavacha? Not Nara, but one incarnation of Nara does it.
Is it Arjuna?
Yeah.
Krishna
So
Arjuna.
Karna is eventually born. The 1,000th Kavacha of Sahasra Kavacha is born. So that's why again Nara Narayana, when they all come together, Krishna and Arjuna are coming together, and Arjuna is then battling, and Arjuna is the incarnation of Nara. And then he then gets rid of the 1,000th Kavacha of Sahasra Kavacha, right? Which is there. So anyway, so that is with that, they then get rid of the 1,000 Kavachams of Sahasra Kavacha, and he's gotten rid of. Daityam Sahasra Kavacham Kavachaihi, put a F, Kavachaif Paritam, comma, Sahasra Vatsara Tapas Samarabhilavyaihi Paryaya Nirmita Tapas Samarau Bhavantau, comma, Shishtaika Kankatamamum Nyahatam Salilam. Daityam Sahasra Kavacham Kavachaif Paritam Sahasravatsara Tapas Samarabhilavyaihi Paryaya Nirmita Tapas Samarau Bhavantau Shishtaika Kankatamamum Nyahatam Salilam.
Daityam Sahasra Kavacham Kavachai Paritam Sahasravatsara Tabas Samarabhilavyaihi Paryaya Nirmita Tabas Samarau Bhavantau Shishtaika Kankadamamum Nyahatam Salilam. Daityam Sahasra Kavacham Kavachai Paritam Sahasravatsara Tabas Samarabhilavyaihi Paryaya Nirmita Tabas Samarau Bhavantau Shishtaika Kankadamamum Nyahatam Salilam.
दैत्यं सहस्रकवचं कवचैः परीतं सहस्रवत्सरतपः समराभिलव्यैः पर्यायनिर्मिततपः समरौ भवन्तौ शिष्टैककङ्कटममुं न्यहतां सलीलम्. दैत्यं सहस्रकवचं कवचैः परीतं सहस्रवत्सरतपः समराभिलव्यैः पर्यायनिर्मिततपः समरौ भवन्तौ शिष्टैककङ्कटममुं न्यहतां सलीलम्.
And so on. Anvachahannupadisannapi moksha dharmam Tvam bhatruman badarika shrama madhyavatsihi shakrotate shamatapo balanissahatma divyangana parivritam prajighayamaram. So it's in the first incarnation which is going on at that time. So the primary purpose is not just to get rid of Sahasra Kavacha, but also to give people the path of moksha dharma. All of these incarnations have only one purpose: to show the path to liberation. So every once in a while, people forget what needs to be done. So these incarnations happen to show the path. Like Krishna being born, with Gita and all the other things that we saw, and we're going to see in Krishna avatars, are different ways to get liberated. So that's what this Nara and Narayana do. Is they are, they're always in a state of meditation and showing people the path of how to get liberated. So they then reside in Badarikashramam in the northeast, right at that point. So then this the role of Indra, like I said, Indra is a title. It is not a person's name. So whoever does certain amount of tapas and penance becomes the next Indra. So in this Indra's post is always a little bit of a, what you call slippery post, because somebody else does enough tapas and they get the strength, they can become the next Indra. So this Indra is always worried when somebody gets very potent or very strong. So this Indra is now getting afraid that this Naranarayana are becoming very strong, right, with all the tapas, and they will become the next Indra. That's his worry, that they may take over his post. So what he does is he comes and tries to disturb them. And this will happen at multiple places. This is going to happen later on with Rishabha Yogeshwara and all of them. It's going to happen. But anyway, so here Indra then says, okay, I'm going to disturb this penance of Nara and Narayana. So he's going to send a crew to go and disturb them. Anvacharan nupadishannapi. If you want to break it, it's Anvacharan upadishannapi. But that in and u will become a double in and a nu, etc. So whichever you find easier. Anvacharan nupadishannapi moksha dharmam, tvam bhratruman badarikashramam. I'm breaking at that second ma. Badarikashramam adya vatsihi shakrota te shama tapo bala nissahatma, divyangana parivritam prajigaya maram. So Maram refers to Kamadeva. So he's sending Kamadeva to go and disturb the penance. Anvacharan upadishannapi moksha dharmam tvam bhatruman badarika shrama madhyavatsihi shakrotate shamatapo balanissahatma divyangana parivritam prajighaya maram.
अन्वाचरन्नुपदिशन्नभि मोक्षधर्मं त्वं भ्रातृमान् पदरिकाश्रमम् अद्यवात्सीः शक्रोदतेशमतभोपलनिस्सहात्मा दिव्याङ्गनपरिवृतं प्रजिकायमारम् अन्वाचरन्नुपदिशन्नभि मोक्षधर्मं त्वं भ्रातृमान् पदरिकाश्रमम् अद्यवात्सीः शक्रोदते शमतभोपलनिस्सहात्मा दिव्यांगना परिवृतं प्रजिकायमारम्
अन्वाचरन्नुपदिशन्नभिमोक्षधर्मं त्वं भ्रातृमान् भदरिकाश्रमम् अध्यवात्सीः शक्रोतते शमतपोबलनिस्सहात्मा दिव्यांगना परिवृतं प्रजिघायमारम् अन्वाचरन्नुपदिशन्नभिमोक्षधर्मं त्वं भ्रातृमान् भदरिकाश्रमम् अध्यवात्सीः शक्रोतते शमतपोबलनिस्सहात्मा दिव्यांगना परिवृतं प्रजिघायमारम्.
कामो वसन्तमलयानिलबन्धुशाली कान्ता कटाक्षविशिकैर्विकसद्विलासैः विद्यन्मुहुर्मुहुरकम्पमुदीक्ष्य च त्वां भीरुस्त्वयात जगदे मृदुहासभाजा. So now Kamadeva and all the other damsels that Indra has sent, they have to disturb Nara and Narayana who are in meditation. So, you have to create that appropriate environment, right? You have to make sure the temperature is apt. You have to make sure that it's nice and fragrant. And then, so that's what they do. They change the environment there to make it look very pleasant, like spring. they make all the fragrance come. So it kind of all the senses of Nara and Narayana are going to get tested, right? It smells very nice, it feels very good. And then all these damsels are coming, they're all trying to disturb. It says, they're looking at him in a very, sensuous way. They're all trying to dance and distract, doing all kinds of things to distract Nara and Narayana, but they don't. But they are not getting affected, right? They're staying very strong in their meditation. However, Narayana at the time opens his eyes and then he's going to tell him something. He just ends with saying, you smile, Narayana, you just smile when all this thing is happened. And then you're going to respond back to Kamadeva. Kamo Vasanta Malayanila Bandhu Shali long E, comma, Kanta Kataksha Vishikair Vikasat Vilasaihi. You can really break those things. Vidyan Muhur Muhura Kampam. I'm just breaking at that ma there. Muhura Kampam Udikshya Chatwam, comma, Bhirus Twayata Jagade Mridu Hasa Bhaja. Kamo Vasanta Malayanila Bandhushali Kanta Kataksha Vishikair Vikasat Vilasaihi Vidyan Muhur Muhura Kampamudiksha Chatwam Bhirustvayata Jagade Mriduhasa Bhaja.
Rajesh, quick question. In the last line where it's in the book, it says Pidas Tvaya.
In
The fourth line.
Fourth line, la.
Oh yeah, some books have Betas. So just change it to Ru sound. So that's okay. Just to be consistent, it means the same thing. Bhirus Tvayata.
Okay.
Virus.
Yeah.
Kamo Vasanta Malayanila Bantusali Kanta Kadaksha Vishikai Vikasat Vilasaihi Vidyan Muhur Muhura Kamba Mudiksha Chatwam Virustvayada Jagate Mrutuhasa Bhaja. Kamo Vasanta Malayanila Bantushali Kanta Kadaksha Vishikai Vikasat Vilasaihi Vidyan Muhur Muhura Kamba Mudiksha Chatwam Virustvayada Jagate Mrutuhasa Bhaja.
Kamo Vasanta Malayanila Bandhushali Kanta Kataksha Vishikhair Vikala Sadvilasyaihi Lasaihi Vidyan Muhuraka Kampa Mudikshya Chatwam Bhirustvayatha Jagade Mruduhasa Bhaja.
Second line, last half. Vikasat Vilasaihi.
Vikasat Vilasaihi. Yes.
Rajji, last line la Birustvayava, la Birastvayava.
Birus. Ru.
Virus. Vikasat Vilasaihi. Kamo Vasanta Malayanila Bandhushali Kanta Kataksha Vishikhair Vikasat Vilasaihi Vindyan Muhuraka Kampa Mudikshya Chatwam Bhirustvayatha Jagade Muduhasa Bhaja.
The sixth. Bhitya Lamangaja Basanta Suranga Navo Manmanasam Tvihajushadvamiti Bruvanaha Tvam Vismahena Paritastuvata Mataisham Pradarshayaswa Paricharaka Katarakshihi. So Narayana says, like Narayana, they're not affected at all. So this Kamadeva, everybody is like stunned, saying we're doing all these possible things to distract your senses, but then you are still staying steady. You are not affected. So as they're looking stunned, so Narayana says, that's nothing, right? He says, from his yogic power, he creates more beautiful women. He says, look at all these people who are around me. He says, I'm not affected by these things, right? So he says, you have to try some other way. This is not the way to be able to, change my meditation or change my yogic thing. He says, I'm beyond all this. I'm beyond I have good control of my senses. And with that, you show how you are not impacted and you are already reached the highest state. Anyway, Narayanayana, they are like the very high on the yogic levels, right? Like we saw the Ashtanga Yoga in Dasakam 4. So they say with that, they are not affected by any of this. And then you show how even with more prettier women around them, they are not affected. So whatever Kamadeva is trying to do is not going to have any impact on them. Bhityalam Angaja, just breaking it, Bhityalam Angaja Vasanta Suranganavo, Manmanasam Tviha Jushadvamiti Bruvanaha Tvam Vismayena Paritaha, put is Paritas Stuvatam Ataisham. You want to break it, Stuvatam Ataisham, Pradarshayah, put is Pradarshayas Swa Paricharaka Kata Rakshihi. Bhityalamangaj Vasanta Suranganavo Manmanasam Tviha Jushadvamiti Bruvanaha Tvam Vismahena Paritastuvatam Pradarshayaswa Paricharaka Kata Rakshihi.
Bhityalamangaj Vasanta Suranganavo Manmanasantviha Jushadvamiti Bruvanaha Tvam Vismayena Paridastuvadamadaisham Pradarshayasva Pradarshayasva Paricharaka Kadarakshihi. Pityalamangkaja Vasanta Suranganavo Manmanasantviha Jushat Vimidi Bruvanaha Tvam Vismayena Paridastuvadamadaisham Pradarshayasva Paricharaka Kadarakshihi.
Pradarshayas, that word.
Pradarshayas
Yeah.
Swaparichar. Thank
I think you said, yeah, the full da or something you didn't say, but you got it now.
Okay.
Bhityalamangaj Vasanta Suranganavo Manmanasam Tviha Jushadvamiti Bruvanaha Tvam Vismayena Paritastuvatamathaisham Pradarshayasva Paricharaka Kadarakshihi. Bhityalamangaj Vasanta Suranganavo Manmanasam Tviha Jushadvamiti Bruvanaha Tvam Vismayena Paritastuvatamathaisham Pradarshayasva Paricharaka Kadarakshihi.
Answer 7. Sammohanaya Milita Madanhadayaste Tvaddasika Parimalaih Kilamohamapuhu Dattam Tvayacha Jagruhustrapayeva Sarvaswarvasi Garvashamanim Punarurvashim Tam. So this Kamadev, everybody are stunned with all these other beings that Narayana are able to make. Then Narayana is Uru. Uru refers to the thigh. So he taps his thigh, and from his thigh, another person comes out, a being comes out. So because that person came from the Uru of Narayana, she's called as Urvashi. So that Urvashi is that maiden who actually comes out, who's extremely beautiful. So all these people are coming and saying, okay, we try to distract Narayana by creating all this environment and getting all these damsels, but then see what is coming out of this Narayana is somebody who's even more prettier. So Narayana says, you take this to your Indra. He wanted to distract my tapas and disturb meditation. It's not going to happen, right? So with that, he says, I'm all under control. So tell Indra his post is not at risk, because that's why Indra does all these things, because he's worried about. So he says that is not my intention, is not to become the next Indra or anything. So anyway, so with that, then he gives Urvashi to Kamadeva and all of them, and they all go back. Sammohanaya Milita Madanadayaste, Tvaddasika Parimalaihi, put a h to join, Parimalaih Kila Mohamapuhu Dattam Tvayacha Jagruhus Trapayeva Sarva, then put a plus, Swarvasi Garva Shamanim Punarurvashim. punarurvashim tam. So those two lines are together, third and fourth. Sammohanaya milita madanadayaste tvaddasika parimalaiः kila mohamapuhu dattam tvaya cha jagruhustrapayaiva sarva swarvasi garvashamanim punarurvashim tam.
Sammohanaya milita madanadayasте tvattasika parimalai kilamohamapuhu tattam tvaya cha jagruhustrabayava sarvasvarvasi garvashamanim punarurvashim tam.
Yeah, the third line, jagruhus, one word. Jagruhus trapayaiva sarva swarvasi garvashamani.
Thank you. Sammohanaya milita madanadayaste tvattasika parimalai kila mohamabuhu tattam tvaya cha jagruhustrabayaiva sarvarvasi karvashamanim punarurvashim tam.
Yeah, and the sarva and swarvasi, although it's a plus, you just give a brief pause there. So jagruhus trapayaiva sarva swarvasi garvashamani. Okay.
सम्मोहनाय मिलिता मदनादयस्ते त्वद्दासिका परिमलः किल मोहमापुः दत्तां त्वया च जगृहुस्त्रपयैव सर्वासि गर्वशमनीं पुनरुर्वशीं ताम्.
Punarurvashim tam.
पुनर्उर्वशीं ताम्. सम्मोहनाय मिलिता मदनादयस्ते त्वद्दासिका परिमलः किल मोहमापुः दत्तां त्वया च जगृहुस्त्रपयैव सर्वासि गर्वशमनीं पुनर्उर्वशीं ताम्.
You said punur against punar urvashim.
पुनर्उर्वशीं ताम्.
Yeah, and then the fourth line, first word is swarvasi.
Swarvasi.
Yeah, you said sa, so sarva is a sa, and then this is swarvasi.
Okay. Sarva swarvasi garvashamanim punar urvashinta.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Translate. Drishtvorvashim tava katham cha nishamya shakraha paryakulo jani bhavan mahima vamarshat evam prashantaramaniya taravatarat tvattodiko varada krishna tanustwameva. So then when Indra comes to hear about the stories, when Kamadeva, everybody go back and say, you know what, we could not disturb Narayana, and they in fact, captivated us with all that Narayana did, and here is what Urvashi is given as as to you, O Indra. So Indra then realizes his mistake, and then he apologizes. So with this Narayana incarnation in this context of Narayaneeyam comes to an end. And then Bhattacharya says it's a very beautiful, simple avataram, no complications, no fighting or any of that stuff. So it's only as beautiful. The only avataram better than this, he says, is Krishna avataram itself. Other than Krishna avataram, this is the next gentle and beautiful avataram. Drishtvor Vashim Tava Katham Cha Nishamya Shakraha. Shakra refers to Indra. Shakraha, comma. Paryakulo Jani Bhavan Mahimava Marshat Evam Prashanta Ramaniya Taravatarat. So that word, first you put a it at the end and comma. Then after that Prashanta, the next word, we cannot break it. But remember the word Avatarat is built into it. So Ramaniya Taravatarat, comma. The next line, you have a double it. One of that will go away. Tvattodiko Bharada Krishna Tanus Tvameva. Drishtmor Vashim Tava Katham Cha Nishamya Shakraha Paryakulo Jani Bhavan Mahima Vamarshat एवं प्रशान्तरमणीयतरावतारात् त्वत्तोऽधिको वरद कृष्णतनुस्त्वमेव
दृष्ट्वोर्वशीं तव कदां च निशम्य चक्रः पर्याकुलो जनिपवन्महिमावमर्शात् एवं रमणीयतरावतारात् त्वत्कोदिको वरद कृष्णतनुस्त्वमेव दृष्ट्वोर्वशीं तव कदां च निशम्य चक्रः पर्याकुलो जनिभवन्महिमावमर्शात् एवं प्रशान्तरमणीयतरावतारात् त्वत्तोऽधिको वरद कृष्णतनुस्त्वमेव
दृष्टोर्वशीं तव कथां च निशम्य शक्रः पर्याकुलो जनिभवन्महिमावमर्शात् एवं प्रशान्तरमणीयवतारावतारात् नो रमणीयतरावतारात् त्वत्तोऽधिको वरद कृष्णतनुस्त्वमेव दृष्टोर्वशीं तव कथां च निशम्य शक्रः पुर्याकुलो जनिभवन्महिमावमर्शात् एवं प्रशान्तरमणीयतरावतारात् त्वत्तोऽधिको वरद कृष्णतनुस्त्वमेव.
Second line, first word, paryakulo. You said second time, purya, pu, you said pa, paryakulo.
Paryakulo jani. Yes, thank you.
9 and 10, let's do the stanzas. And then if you have time today, I'll tell the meaning. Dakshastu dhaturati lalanaya rajondho, comma, natyadritas tvayi cha. I'm breaking that ma next. Kashtam ashanti. So just breaking at the ma. Kashtam ashanti rasit. Yena vyarunda sabhavat. Tanumeva sharvam, comma. Yagne cha vaira pishune swasutam vyamanit. Dhakshastu dhaturatilalanaya rajondho natyadritastvai cha kashtamashanti rasit yena vyarunda sabhavat tanumeva sharvam yagne cha vaira pishune swasutam vyamanit.
दक्षस्तुधा तुरदिलालनया रजोन्तो नाद्यातृदस्त्वयि च असान्दिरासि येन व्यरुन्दस भवत्तनुमेव सर्वं यज्ञे च वैरपिसुने स्वसुधां व्यमानीत्.
And the third line, last word, sha, sharvam, sha sound.
Oh, sure. दक्षस्तुधा तुरदिलालनया रजोन्तो नाद्यातृदस्त्वयि च कष्टमशान्तिरासीत् येन व्यरुन्दस भवत्तनुमेव सर्वं यज्ञे च वैरपिसुने स्वसुधां व्यमानीत्.
दक्षस्तु धातुरतिलालनया रजोन्तो नात्यादृतस्त्वयि च कष्टमशान्तिरासीत् येन व्यरुन्दस भवत्तनुमेव शर्वं यज्ञे च वैरपिशुने स्वसुतां व्यमानीत्. दक्षस्तु धातुरतिलालनया रजोन्तो नात्यादृतस्त्वयि च कष्टमशान्तिरासीत् येन व्यरुन्दस भवत्तनुमेव शर्वं यज्ञे च वैरपिशुने स्वसुतां व्यमानीत्.
And so 10. क्रुद्धेशमर्दितमकः सतु कृत्तशीर्षो देवप्रसादितहरादतलब्धजीवः त्वत्पूरितक्रतुवरः पुनरापशान्तिं सत्वं प्रशान्तिकर पाहि मरुत्पुरेश. क्रुद्धेश mardita makaha, put is makas, satu kritta shirsho, comma, deva prasadita haradata labda jivaha, tvat purita kratuvaraha, put f, kratuvara punarapa shantim, comma, satvam prashantikara pahi marutpuresha. क्रुद्धेशमर्दितमखः सतु शीर्षो देवप्रसादितहरादतलब्धजीवः त्वत्पूरितक्रतुवरः पुनरापशान्तिं स त्वं प्रशान्तिकर पाहि मरुत्पुरेश.
कृत्तेशमत्तिकमकस्सदु कृतशीर्षो देवप्रसादितहरादतलब्धजीवाः त्वत्पूरितक्रतुवरः पुनरापशान्तिं सत्वं प्रशान्तिकरपाहि मरुत्पुरेश. कृत्तेशमत्तितमकस्सदु कृतशीर्षो देवप्रसादितहरादतलब्धजीवाः त्वत्पूरितक्रतुवरः पुनरापशान्तिं सत्वं प्रशान्तिकरपाहि मरुत्पुरेश.
Rajesh, the first line, is it the last word, is it double ta or single ta? Is
Double
it
ta. Kritta.
Oh, thank you. Kruddeshamardidamakaः satu kritta shirsho deva prasaditah radhatalabda jivaha tvatpurita kraduvarah punarapashantim satvam prashantikara pahi marutpuresha. Kruddeshamadhirtamakः satu kritta shirsho Deva prasatitah radhatalabda jivaha tvatpurita kraduvarah punarapashantim satvam prashantikara pahi marutpuresha.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. So say the 9 and 12 story. I think most of you know this Daksha story really well anyways. So you remember it starts off with the Daksho Virincha Tanayo, about the 16 daughters of Daksha. The 13 we saw Dharmadeva from the Narayanayana. And then one of them, Sati, gets married to Shiva. So in that, it so happens one time that there was this yajna being performed with all the Prajapatis where Daksha is walking in. So there are everybody gets up to respect Daksha except two people. One of them is Brahma and second is Shiva. Now Brahma, of course, Daksha has come from Brahma. So for him, he's like Brahma is considered even a greater personality than Daksha for Daksha. So he doesn't get offended. He pays his prostrations, namaskarams to Daksha, but he gets offended because Shiva is like his daughter has got married to Shiva. So he feels like Shiva should have gotten up and respected Daksha. So Daksha gets very upset. So he then performs another big yajna where every god and every demigod and deity have a share in that yajna when all of this is done. So he doesn't invite Shiva and Sati, of course, he doesn't invite them. So at that time, Sati, seeing that there is some movement happening and a lot of people are going somewhere, she comes to know what is happening. So she goes and talks to Shiva and says, oh, the Daksha, my father, is performing this yajna. Shiva says, we are not invited, we shouldn't go because he knows what's going to happen, but she feels otherwise. So she goes there, and there she hears the insult that Daksha is giving to her husband Shiva. So Sati then, through her yogic power, she then burns her body from inside. Right, so with the power, she raises her pranavayu and then she burns herself off. So when that happens, and everybody gets upset, and then Shiva, from his matted locks from his hair, he throws it out, and then from that Veerabhadra comes from the hair of Shiva, and this Veerabhadra goes and kills Daksha. So, but this yajna still has to be completed. So then Shiva then places a goat's head on Daksha, and then with that, Daksha then completes the yajna, right? Which is why this comes to an end. But the Daksha Charitram is not done yet. It is going to come again in 19, because Daksha offended Shiva from being a Prajapati who comes directly from Brahma. He's going to be cursed down to be born through the womb of a mother. So we're going to see that in 19th when we see the Prachetas Charitram. So anyway, so with this Dashakam comes to an end. Shri Krishna Paraparamane Namaha. Yeah, go ahead, sir. I'm ready to question.
Yeah, Rajesh ji, I think Daksha's kids are the 27 stars also, right?
It's going to come a little later. So it's like which Daksha you're talking about. So there is one Daksha, and there's going to be another Daksha, which is Daksha going to be born again. Sorry, go ahead.
I had a question on 9, Rajesh. In number 9, Dakshastudha Ratilalanaya Rajon, instead of Rajon Do, I don't know. I have
you
two
have
dots
Rajan
there.
Daha, Rajon Daha.
Yeah, Rajanda. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rajon
So just
Daha.
change it to Rajon Dho. Sometimes that O and Visarga, they what do you call, alternated. So Rajon Dho instead of Rajon Daha.
Okay.
सान्ध्यानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.